Hey everybody, welcome to MSP Unplugged. I'm your host, Paco Lebron. This is the place to learn how to run your MSP, whether you're a nimble MSP or leading a team for the journey. This is the place for you. Let me go ahead and introduce my co-host, my partner in crime, Mr. Rick Smith over at Renactus Technology. Rick, how the heck are you, my friend?
Doing good, my man. Doing good. Good week, relaxing. After our, well, we'll talk about it, but after our long years journey to get to Techcon Unplugged, so I feel good this week.
Journey is the right word, my friend, because I'll tell you what, being was our fifth annual, man, this one took a lot out of me. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll go into a little bit more details of that for some of the life things going on with myself. But we're really excited about this episode because we always consider the end of TechCon kind of like I wouldn't say like our season premiere, but more like a relaunching of what's to come. We have our fourth quarter living series that we always have from October to December to jump into the new year in January. But the reason why I highlight that is we have some exciting news. You probably will see a post that would have came out last week at the time of this recording. We're recording it the post will come out, but as I love to say, my faux Tuesdays, but it's actually Tuesday today. But I ramble. What I mean to say is that we're going to be having some exciting news that you'll have in this post. You should already know, but if you haven't heard, we're going to have a new co-host. Now, we're not replacing Rick. Rick provides a lot of great value here. We're going to be adding to our clan here and providing another perspective to provide a lot of great information. I consider this gentleman a friend. He has a wealth of knowledge, has been in the industry for quite some time. We'll go ahead and jump into his story here. But who am I talking about? I'm referring to Corey Kirkendoll from 5K Technical Services. Corey, how the heck are you, my friend?
Man, I'm doing well, man. Brothers, I'm glad to be here, man. Glad to join the clan that y'all lowered the bar to let a brother like me in, man. So I'm excited.
No.
If
I
I could
think
get
that
in, anybody can get in. Don't worry about
Rick said it, not me. But no, the point is that we're super excited to have you on. I think that we've had a lot of great conversations over the years, just in general, as both of our MSPs comparing notes, your contribution to the community. You're not a shy face from it. A lot of people are familiar with you and your contributions to many of the communities that are out there. But I think we just started kind of talking about this a couple months ago. We started really just diving in and seeing how the value could be provided to the audience, and then we all got together at TechCon and really just had a good powwow session. I think just us sitting on the couch for like 10-15 minutes, we all had kind of like some of the stuff you told us. Me and Rick were bing, 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 all the light bulbs kind of going off, right? And so
Yeah,
that's the hope, right? And that's the hope that we're going to be doing here on the shows, and as they come across to all of those that are going to be tuning in. It also provides a dynamic as well, because if one of us are out, there's still going to be some great content between two great hosts that are going to be on here. So, and I'll explain why I say that, because again, some life things going on for myself. So we will go into all that here later in the show. But really, gents, what I wanted to talk in before, Corey, we kind of jump into your story, because I think your story kind of helps dive into some of the topics we want to talk about in the episode. But I just want to kind of run through a recap of TechCon Unplugged. This was our fifth annual year. We were over in the greater Washington, D.C. area, Hanover, Maryland, at the beautiful hotel at Arundel Preserve. I have received nothing but great feedback, from the vendors, the speakers, friends that I invited, the attendees, all have said that this was probably the best TechCon yet. I think I'll toss it over to you, Corey, because I believe this is the first time you've attended
hmm
TechCon Unplugged. Share a little bit about kind of like what was like your experience, what you kind of assumed it would be going into it. What did you see it to be? Just more of just a couple words on like what you thought about the event for as a first time attendee.
for sure, for sure. First of all, man, I hats off and applaud to you and the crew, man, for doing what you do, man, for to run an MSP, do a podcast, and want to be in event planning and run a business. And then y'all just put the bar too high up there. But hey, kudos, man. It was a great event. I always love when it has small, intimate, and some really channel loving partners of what you brought to the table, right? People who are really into it, really looking to help businesses grow, and just the small atmosphere, man, to really hit. where the topics were, where it was no fluff. It was right on what you needed to do to grow your business, get serious about your business. And if you really want to do it, we got a set of partners here to take it forward. That's what I got out of it, man. It was awesome to see that. And you guys did an awesome job.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Mr. Smith, obviously this is our third go around on throwing this event known as Techcon Unplugged. What was your thoughts this year as because I think this is the first time that you and I actually had time to actually attend sessions just because of the event planning that we invested in and some of the infrastructure that we had for some team members joining us as well.
Yeah, it was you know, I have to say this, not because I'm a part of it, but it was great. I think I had a good time. I finally got to let loose on Saturday when it was all, you know, we were all over. But I had a really good time. I thought I thought, you know, and I walked around the people. I asked, you know, I'm very conscious of what are we providing the community? Are we doing the right thing? And everyone gave us great feedback as far as what they got. And everyone said the same thing over and over again. The content was excellent, right? So I think particularly with the breakout sessions, I think everyone enjoyed it. I enjoy seeing everyone enjoy it because I know all the hard work we put into it. You want to make sure that it's worth it. Unless everyone lied, which I don't think everyone did. I think everyone had a good time. I'm super, super grateful for the participation we got from the community. That is the vendors, that is the speakers who came out to, you know, and I don't know if we properly thanked them correctly, but you know, a lot of people volunteered their time just to to help us, right? To educate us, to give us some information to help us grow our business. So I'm really appreciative of that. And I think that really defines what we are and who we are as a community, that we can come together, as Corey said, in a small, intimate setting, because that's always the goal. We don't want to make this large. But, you know, I was so appreciative of the people who came out to support us and who you know, dropped a lot of knowledge on everyone there. So the feedback we've gotten so far, and there will be a survey coming. So again, as I say, please be honest about your feelings and what we can do to improve, because this is for everyone. But I think it was a good time to be had for all.
Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
I that was one of the key highlights I heard was content was great. Content was great, especially because we changed kind of the format of our show this year, where first half was front of audience, meaning that there would be a speaker educating and talking to those all that were in attendance, and then the other half of the day for the show would be individual workshops. We had 3 tracks. In the beginning, I was calling them lounges, but really they were just tracks. And so really diving into particular segments of a business, whether that was sales and marketing, whether that was going to be operational efficiency and financial literacy, also going down to obviously everyone's favorite, security, AI, automation, things of that nature as well. So it really worked out to such a great time. But, you know, we can't take full credit for a lot of the topics and the content that came out. We had an amazing content committee. Really just helped us understand different size businesses. And so when we asked these 6 individuals for their time, really it was more of like, what was their experience? What did they hope to get out of a show? What have they loved to see at other shows? What did they hate seeing at other shows? So, you know, really quick shout out to Diana Giles over at Skyline IT Management, Ron Cervantes at CS Solutions, Brian Morris over at Morris Tech Team, Joe K over at Cyber Onsite Services. I know I'm missing one more.
Jason Miller
over at Unbound Digital. And then, you know, who's not to love our amazing MC who's been grateful for us for the last 3 years to MC, is that Marvin B over at IT Business Podcast and MB Systems. You know, really the big thing for us is trying to grow and help bring the IT community together. And, you know, a personal friend of mine, Amy Luby, when she was over at the company way back when, I think it was a Cronus, and, you know, she took a gamble. She sponsored our event. She wanted to do more. And when she was first there, she said something to me that always stuck with me. And she gave me some good feedback from this show as well. But back then, a couple years ago, she said to me, you know, this is the one event that is a true community event. And I didn't really understand what that meant at the time when she told me this. But what I've learned over the years is you know, our event isn't it's all encompassing. It's bringing everybody together. And that, again, that cliche way of saying it, but it truly was that way. It was a community that we fostered and grew to this thing where when you walked in, you didn't know who was a vendor. You didn't know who was a MSP. I mean, there were literally conversations happening with everyone in the lobby, in the foyer, in the hallway, you know, doing where the magic happens, as I jokingly try to say. And so, you know, it was such a great opportunity to have everybody there. And so the feedback she gave me at this show is that, you know, sometimes when she attends a show, or oftentimes when she attends a show, she's often drained from the event, because sometimes events have so much going on and, you know, you feel drained. She says every time she's attended Techcon Unplugged, she always is energized to kind of take it on and come out for it. And to hear that, and many of our other attendees say similar things, has been a great opportunity for us to just say thank you to all of those that have contributed to this thing called Techcon Unplugged, but also for all of the support and the heartfelt effort that went into this. So again, from all of us here, we appreciate all of you, and thank you so much. But, you know, kind of diving in that now that we've actually attended some sessions, you know, Rick, is there any of the sessions that you did attend that kind of stuck out to you, or maybe left you in awe, that like you're like, you know what, when I come back, that's what I'm working on, or that's what I'm doing, or it opened your frame of mind, maybe even conversations that happened after the event, that kind of left you to make some changes with the business?
Yeah, well, a couple of things stuck out for me. And again, I didn't get to stay because there was always something we had to do. So I was in and out
Sure.
of sessions. I did get a chance to sit in on some for longer than others, right? I think Tom Bow gave a great session on basically on the business financial side of things. I thought that was very helpful. I and this is not because I didn't get to see everyone's full thing. So if I don't mention it, it doesn't mean that it wasn't great. It's just that I didn't get to see it. Brooke Lee and oh my God,
Tim Coach.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Tim, if you're listening. They gave a great session. They gave actually two, but they gave a great session on documentation, which I thought was great. I also enjoyed the session on Copilot with Dawn Sizer. I thought that was great. And then, of course, you know, I am, you know, as we all are, focusing on trying to grow my business. So the marketing sessions were great. Shout out again to Tahir Hamid, who comes in his Yeti costume, which I just think, again, as he said, you do something different, you get attention, right? And why should marketing be boring? So shout out to him. Who had a great session. I'm trying to think. I did not get to sit in on any of the security sessions, and that was on purpose. I knew we were videotaping them, so I wanted to be able to, with all the sessions, I'm going to be able to sit down and actually watch them. But that is one I knew I couldn't step in and step out of. But Mark Copeland as well did a couple of great sessions as well. And again, he traveled from over the pond to come here, so I, definitely appreciative of that. And those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head that I got to spend a few minutes in. But they were all great, and the feedback I got from others who saw the full roster, is that they had a great time, and they were very, very informative for them. So
That's awesome. Corey, was there any sessions that you had or any conversations with any MSP at the event that really stuck out to you, either whether information or advice you gave, or just hearing some of the stories
Yeah.
from some of the MSPs at the show?
Yeah, man, I got a sense to sit in. I love when vendors don't pitch their product, right? And I always love when Ken Patterson gets on the stage, right? He really hit him up and brought knowledge of how to grow a business, talked about where he came from. And oh, yeah, by the way, I work here, right? I love that because now he's showing that real value of bringing him and having access to him, which is great. I did sit in with Wes and his team when they were going through the things that they were going through on how they're doing with training and having that conversation and what they got going on with empath and those things, which is cool stuff. And just collaborating. I think one of the biggest things I had, and Brooke even pulled this up. She said, "Man, you guys brought out the heavy hitters, right? You brought out people in the industry who are out there living the business and doing the channel. Don, myself, you, all of us, right? We all came out. Matt Lee. I mean, you had the crew, right? You brought in that's what's up. They flew in to support it because that's what you guys bring to the table. And I live by this message, man. When one MSP coughs, we all catch the cold, right?
Yeah,
And I look at
right.
this was that shot of emergency that we needed, right, to keep that bug away so we can keep it moving, right? And that's exactly what it's all
Right.
about. I love it. I love it. It was good.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Everyone kept saying like, man, like, how'd you get everybody to come and it's just, it's just love. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, it's just love,
Mhm.
like, and it's not like, it's how we say it back in the day. Like when you show love to someone, it's always reciprocated, and the relationships, and it always goes back to building relationships genuinely, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes it's a little hard in the channel to do that, right? And genuinely. And I just have been blessed and lucky to meet all these great individuals, and really just wanting to do it for the cause, right? Like that's really what it
For
was
sure.
all what it all came down to, right? Is helping those get to that next level, like I was talking to the empath guys. I was talking to Farling, Kyle, and Wes on just what they're trying to do, and their focus. And Matt Lee and Ken Patterson are always, I consider them very close friends, brothers, if even that,
Hmm.
because they've always said like, when your name is mentioned, I'm there. And so they've always supported, and and just great friends like Henry Tim, Don Sizer coming through as well on a weekend. And that's the other thing too. Like our show is a Friday, Saturday. So the fact that these people gave up a weekend to come and support the community, just on the help of what we're trying to do here, is just, it's so amazing and heartfelt. And I appreciate every one of those. For those that I even mentioned, Coach, Brooke. So the funny part about Brooke and Coach was, I actually had asked them prior to their departures of the company they were at before. And so Coach was already like, I'm on my own. But, I was concerned that, maybe with Brooke going over to ScalePad, that there was a way that she may not be able to make it. But she told me like, I was definitely going to make it, and we were going to figure out how that was going to happen. And it just so happened ScalePad was a sponsor, so it worked out in the end.
Hmm.
Shout out to Eric Torres while he was there, so appreciate him as well for making
Yeah.
that happen. But it was just much love all around, and really appreciate everyone coming out for that as well. So but yeah, I think that was cool from everybody. For me, I don't think I sit in on much of the sessions, just because there was a lot going on from there. But I think the one that piqued my interest, that I actually saw some of the footage, and I'll get into this for those listening because I have had questions about our recordings, was Nick Ross's session. Him focusing on automation, Power Automate, and automation flows was really good. And then the fact that him and Matt Lee got the tag team, I heard it was just an amazing session all around. Diana helping bring some of the technical conversations down to those for like my level to understand what's going on.
For us
I
regular
appreciate
people.
her. Right. I appreciate her being able to help digest that for us, and speaking to how to understand all that. But yeah, that was one of my favorite sessions. And then really it was my conversations with Tahir and Steven at in the foyer, and just talking about things going on. And really just talking about how, like, you just got to do the marketing, like you just have to get it done. And I'll talk a little bit about that later in the episode, but like that conversation was there. And then really from just love and relationships and building, is like, how about rhythms coming through for us
Mhm.
at the
It was
event,
nice.
right? And
Real
so
nice.
Steve
Shout out,
Copeland,
Steve.
Len, we were in a bit of a situation trying to figure out what we're going to do for our Wi-Fi. I put out a call through a relationship with Juan Fernandez, and he was like, I'm all about it, let me help you out. And when he was there, he just loved the atmosphere and what we were doing. But those boxes were working. Now I did understand that there was some issues with the main area. My understanding is that big box had a problem with power, so that's the reason why it wasn't doing what it was supposed to be doing. But once it got removed, everyone was saying that the internet was up to par on those 5G boxes. So Rhythms definitely appreciate their support as well on that. But yeah, really that's what kind of left me all, was really talking to Tahir and all them, the Nick Ross's sessions, really just diving into a lot of that. And then I'm hoping we got some things coming up here, and we'll talk about that here shortly, is being able to watch all of the videos that we recorded. So for those that have asked, because I've gotten many messages, the plan right now is to create a membership module inside of our platform so that those that have purchased a ticket for Techcon, you are able to see all of the recordings for free. So you'll be able to, once we get that live, Rick is working his magic in the background to kind of work on some of this framework stuff. Not as easy as what we thought it would be. But we are working toward that. We'll have that membership here coming up soon. And then everyone who has attended TechCon, we'll make sure to send out an email to all of you to make sure that you all see that as well. In the event we find that it's taking a little bit longer than we have hoped for, I know all of you have been asking for the presentations. I am chasing down some of the vendors for some of their presentations. We do have some of them, but we'll try to include a folder in the survey that will have access to those. Or if you don't know, if you did attend to TechCon Unplugged, you do have access to our online community group, which is currently hosted on Facebook. So in the event that you have not joined us yet, feel free to ping me or Rick. We'll be able to get the link. Once Corey's kind of affiliated and acclimated to these things, you can always hit up Corey too eventually to get you into that community group. But essentially, we want you there. This is where the conversations are happening. This is a no judgment free zone for our community. One of the topics that we were very specific about was about how you learn at your own pace, and you really want to make sure that you have the opportunity to ask your questions, feel that a sense of belonging, and not be judged for the way that you learn and maybe told that you should have Googled it or you should have figured it out in a different way, or just feel being talked down to by the quote unquote elitists that feel like they're so smart that they're just going to go ahead and just bash you for no reason. So I would say that, this is the ability for a community group to belong to. Feel free to jump in there. We're going to make sure we have our updates for that. The membership module will be coming out here soon. And yes, this eventually will replace Patreon that we have not even set up or charge you all for your memberships. We appreciate your commitment, but as you could tell, we didn't do any of that as of this year because we really wanted to focus this year on providing you that value, like community engagement, and then allowing you to join us should you want to in this membership module and platform that we have as well. So more to come. Email for survey, link for presentations should be in that survey if we don't get the membership module up in time. Me and Rick have some traveling and some things going on personally, so we'll make sure that we get this done as soon as possible for you all. Rick, anything you wanted to add to that?
I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to make the commitment at the time of this recording. We should have that module. I'll be working on that. So we should have that module available at the time of, as you're watching this recording, which hopefully is 5 weeks from now, no, in next week. So this should, that recording should be live. I just got a couple of things I got to iron out. Like Paco said, it was a little more, it's like everything in tech. We think, hey, we see the answer. We think we know the path. And then you get there and there's a little rock or a little, in my case, it was a big ass rock in the way. So I had to figure out a way to get through it to get us where we want to be. But well, we should be there by the time you're listening to this.
Yep, absolutely. So awesome. Corey, my man, I know you've been on the show a couple times before, but for those that don't know you and maybe they haven't seen any of those previous episodes, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what are you focusing on nowadays?
Yeah, for sure, man. Again, Corey Kirkendoll, President CEO of 5K Technical Services. We are an MSP in the Dallas area. Been doing it since 2006, so been around for a while, man. Seen it evolve from didn't even know what an MSP was to we still kind of don't know what an MSP was and what it does. So it hasn't changed much in all that time. You'll see me around, man. There's one thing I love about what we do, man, is this community, right? You'll see me at, different events and different places and giving back to the community because, when one thing about this, man, when one of us have an issue or something that we're very ready to step up and help each other out. And we'll share information around it, about what we're doing, how we're doing, what tools we are doing, how we're doing. Hey, I want an agreement. I want a price. I want whatever that is. then we'll share that information. And that's what this community is all about. It's not about competition. It's about cooperating with each other and figuring out how we make each other better. I mean, Dallas is a very, very heavily saturated market. Man, I can probably throw a rock and hit 5 MSPs in the head. But we don't compete with each other in that area, right? We have, relationships. We feel each other, and we do what we got to do to keep it moving, and build that mutual respect for one another, and make sure that we're all doing the right things, and holding each other accountable is what it's really about. Because again, you know, I was around when the large enterprise company didn't really care about the channel. They didn't care about the MSPs. They was direct selling against us. They were going at us. And now they figured out and said, "Oh my gosh, there's gold in them their heels." And now they're coming fast and furious at us, right? And saying, "Hey, we need you, and here's what it is, and this is what we want to get done." And that you can see it evolve and go into different places. So I love to share the knowledge that I've had and learn from others. I mean, Paco, you called me a couple of weeks ago and asked me what I was doing with a certain partner on how I was doing 365. Hey man, here's what I'm doing. Here's the partner. Here's the hookup. Go make it happen. And I'm not trying to sell you on anything. I'm just giving you my advice and saying, here's what I got, and I connect the connection and where it goes from there. That's huge, right? That is the ultimate power of reference, right? We're like the food places and reviews on steroids, right?
Yeah, right. The critique, the critics and shit.
100%.
But and you know what's funny about that too, right? Like when we had that conversation, right? And so because I
Hmm.
was just unhappy with the solution we had right now, jumped on it. My ops guy, John Dubinsky, he loved it. He was like, "This is amazing." I talked to Rick about it. Rick's like, "Oh, really?" And so through osmosis, obviously it goes through, and now Rick is trying to get out and looking at it, and so it's like you said, it's
Oh,
just
Rick's on it
infectious.
now.
Oh, Rick's on it now. Okay,
Rick's
so
there.
it's just infectious on how again, like you said, the ability of how it to influence decisions on providing
Hmm.
good value and providing
Yeah.
good things on how certain people are doing things and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
Down to like when last year, I think it's now almost a year, we were looking into switching our PSA and RMM, and Juan was like, "Hey, just take a look at Super Ops." And so I was like, "All right, cool." And then this is before Juan had any affiliation with Super Ops or anything like that. Had John run through the whole process and like, "So why aren't we on this?" And so jumped on and all that sort of stuff. And then now it's, because of my belief in the system, it's now been infectious to others that who wanted a change as
Hmm.
well. So this is very interesting, this space on how, you said it best, like you could throw a rock and there's 5 other MSPs, and the ones that really do get it understand that it's all about supporting and and collaboration versus it being as like a competitor, right? For those that are
Yeah.
competing, they don't really get it, and they don't understand how, like, there's good competition, and then there's just competition for the sake of competition, with there's no real
For
structure, there's no
sure.
real growth behind it. And so that's what I love about this industry, and it's, for someone who doesn't get it, it's very hard for them to fathom until they see what this thing is all about. um but you've talked about how, like, you've contributed into the channel and community, like, how many people are you leading in your team for the journey? What's your size
Yeah.
MSP as far as staff, or just on how you operate, just so some of the audience can know,
For sure.
from your perspective of where that's coming from.
Yeah, there's 9 of us here in Dallas right now. We just finished our move. We were all in office, had an office space, but now we're all went 100% remote. And from that perspective, and for us, the situation, man, is I live by this mean is if you choose to disrespect or not treat the customer in a way that it needs to get done, then you're choosing not to work here. Right? Because whatever,
Right.
I work with a lot of nonprofits and we do a lot of charity work, but we are a for-profit organization, and I like you, but I'm not going to go grab a business loan because I like you to hold on because you just want a place to hang out. That's not how I work here, right? And
Right.
and I lead by example, man. I'm probably the first one in, first one out. I won't ask my team to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. And but I also want to make sure that we always strive to be the best at what it is. My grandfather, instilled in me, man, if you're going to be a street sweeper or whatever that is, be the best. And that's what we want to be considered as from that perspective. I tell my entire team that I don't expect them to be with me forever, 10, 20 years. I love that. I said, but I want to build a culture with them that says, look, if they leave or go somewhere else, I want the people who hire them to say, wherever you came from, I'm going to go steal all his guys. Because if all of y'all are like that, I want them all, right? And that's what we pride to build up that piece, and that's the culture I want to put in them, is professionally, personally, and I invest in it all the way down to that level, man. I want them to grow and enjoy their time with me and learn from me, and I learn from them as well. So we have a good time and we have fun. I tell everybody, man, if you leave or you get fired from 5K, that means you were working too hard. If you were just doing what you needed to get done, it's a piece of cake, right? Because we just have a great time and we have fun, enjoy what we do on a daily basis.
I think it's one of those things where I'm listening to you and I say, when we talk about growing a business and we talk about, one of the most important things is culture, right?
Hmm.
What is the company culture? And what you just described really is really the ideal place for you. The way you see it is the ideal place for someone to work and grow, right? And
Yeah,
I think that it's something that's a lesson we all should take. Not necessarily you have to do it exactly the way Corey said, but your culture has to be, that has to be what emanates throughout all the work you do and who you are, and it has to represent what your company is, right?
hmm,
And I just think about that as we talk about, we just had the conversation about throwing a rock and you can hit 5 MSPs. The real competition should be the people that make you better, right? That make you
100%.
say, hey, I could pick up a couple of tools from him or a couple of tips
Yeah,
from him to improve where I'm going, to improve our culture, to improve our way of doing things, to improve how we service our customer. I'm not necessarily worried about who they're doing business with, but
yeah,
I am concerned about how they do business that can help me improve what I'm doing. And I think one of the greatest things about, I'm gonna bring it back to the community and the fact that the three of us are sitting here, is one of the greatest things about our community is that people are always openly willing to share.
yeah,
Because again, we don't look at it as you're taking from me. We look at it as we're giving to the community, right? And
for sure.
I think that's extremely important, and it's what keeps us growing, really. Because if you don't have support, you can't go, you don't really grow, right? You can't, because everyone thinks, oh, I did it all
Hmm.
on my own. How'd you build that business all on your own? You didn't. Really,
Yeah,
not to insult anyone. I know everyone works hard, but you didn't. You got support, you got help. Somewhere along the line, somebody told you something that stuck in your head that helped you move to the next level. And I always harp on that, because that is why I'm a part of this community, because I like, honestly grew up in this community as far as
yeah,
business goes. And so when you said that, it just made me think about it. It's like, hey, that's a great culture to have, and it's a great thing to strive for, because I would love that everyone who leaves here
hmm,
feels like, and they go somewhere else, and like, hey, you were trained right, you know how to do things the right way, and I appreciate that. And
yeah,
I think that's just an awesome way to see it, and an awesome
man.
awesome outlook on the business.
No, I love it, man. We had to make a podcast, do a show, man. Being in this community is almost like church, right? You either got someone who's in it, who's going through it, who just came out of it, or about to go back in it again, right?
Right.
All of us is in one of those phases, right? We just need to figure it out.
Mhm.
But think about it. If we're not having these conversations, I wouldn't know that Paco was in it and Rick just came out of it and I'm about to go
Mhm.
through it, right? It's lonely at the top. None of my guys walk in my office and be like, you know what, boss, I got this. I'm gonna pay payroll this week. I'm gonna take care of this. I'm gonna escort that person. I'm gonna do that. I don't know about you, but it'll happen to me.
That'll be
Doesn't
an
happen.
awesome culture there.
I know. So sometimes, man, it's lonely at the top, man. Having this conversation. This is my therapy session right here, right? This is what's up, man. To be like, all right, okay, Paco got those same issues I got, right? Rick got some
Mhm.
of them too. I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm not by
Yeah.
myself. And sometimes you need to hear that, and you can get into this wall that think that you're in there all by yourself. That's why
Right.
this community is awesome, man. To reach out and be like, oh yeah, man, I hit that last week, and this is what I did. Or yo, I just seen that. Or I talked to Rick, and Rick was going through that, and I'm gonna hook y'all up and go do that. That's power. That is huge. That is huge.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to say, for those that are watching us, and our hope is the value we're providing them is they see themselves in us. And I think that's very
Yeah.
important to understand, because like, I think there's a lot of times where we hear how certain stories are going, we hear how other people are doing business, but it's not until you identify with someone that you're like, man, that's where I want to be. Like, that's me X amount of years later.
Yeah.
That's me with this going on, right? And being able to identify yourself with someone that you truly are, and you understand what they're going through. You know that they're talking about what they're talking about, and you just want to be a sponge to whatever level, as you mentioned, of those different phases that you are, goes such a long way. of going from that. And that's obviously why, you know, we do what we do. Now, Corey, you know, I think we've talked a little bit about, you know, how you've been doing things, a little bit about yourself, but I'm just curious, you know, because everyone always wants to play talk about toys and tools. Like, what tools are you like loving right now at the moment, or playing around with that's like currently in front
Yeah,
of mine, or what you just are loving right now?
What's your new
yeah. I
toy?
mean, I think we talked about it a little bit when I was at the show, man. You know, one of the things I did probably over a year ago, man, was really just dug deep into the AI side. Right? I know everybody's like, "Oh my God, not that two-letter word again." You know, I don't know what's up with that. But man, what it's been really do is transformational about what's been up from everything. I was playing with Google Note LM a couple of days ago. If you guys don't know what that is, man, it's a new version of note taking from Google where you can take a PDF document or two or three and put it together, man, and tell it to generate. And it will generate a full interactive conversation, 5 to 10 minute podcast where you got a lady talking, the gestures going back and forth. Really, really cool. It's a cool way to talk about notes. And man, when you read it, when you say it, it's cool and exciting, but it's scary as heck too, man, because you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe it is happening right now. There ain't no robotic talk. There's nothing. They are having banter just like we're having right now is live, and it's all AI generated, man. Very, very cool. And so what it's doing is it's changing the way we're able to train and do snippets. So we've been using it to take some documents and some recording and some post-release, drop it into the thing, and then actually give it back to my guys as training videos for them back to say, hey, here's what's going on, so they can list it. It's in small enough chunks. So we took that and said, hey, it's a great opportunity for us to break down a large, complex situation, hit them with the high points, and they can take it, 5-10 minutes at a time and be able to talk about, here's the new releases for Ninja, here's the new releases for, Octagon, here's a new release for whatever. And it gives it into them in that, and they're loving it because it's been really cool to go do that. And so just really taking advantage of those tools has been just amazing from that perspective. Is like, how do I take that, make my guys' life easier, but be consistent, also allowing me to push how we expect to do things down to that. And that's what some of this AI stuff has been able to do is it's been allowing me to get things out of my head, push it down to my guys, so we're all kind of communicating in the same manner, in the same way, and how 5K needs to get it done. Right? That's the piece that's been really cool for us.
That's awesome. So, well, Ricky, you got something?
No, go.
Okay. So something I've been playing around with because since TechCon is, did you see Juan's, and I'm referring to Juan Fernandez over at Super House. Did you see his last presentation that
I did not.
on
I heard
Saturday?
about it.
So I'm playing around with this AI that he has called that he uses. It's called HeyGen.ai. HeyGen.ai, and I'll put that in the show notes along with the Google LM that you just mentioned, Corey. So what this damn thing does is it'll take a photo of you from like whatever stance you're at. It'll ask you to do a couple gestures, and apparently you can put the text inside for it to just talk about or do whatever, and it'll be as if it's you moving and talking right there and that's the free version. There's a deeper learning module where it looks flawless, that it looks like you recorded the video, but it was all AI doing all the things and everything like that. And so go ahead.
Hold on 1 second, Paco. So everyone who was at TechCon who saw Juan's presentation and saw the beginning, that was actually that program and not Juan recording it as that program.
Wow.
Because a lot of people missed it in the beginning where it says this video was created fully by AI. And I don't think a lot of people registered what actually happened. Right. So when Juan was playing the video to me, I was like, oh, that's cool. You recorded it in the room. He's like, no, bro, that was all AI. I was like, okay, cool. Like what? It like, did whatever. He's like, no. That's a photo of me that I took. And I did some gestures and I copied my presentation. Or I copied a roast of myself and I pasted it in. And that's what it did. And it talked about it. And I was like, wait, what? And so it just opened my mind on a lot of things. Like, how many times have we gone on and said, people have asked, hey, do you, like exactly what you just mentioned, like release notes, updates, learning videos. I've been asked so many times of like, hey, can we do a training on like curricula? Because that's what, or Huntress security awareness training is what they're calling it. But, how do we do that training module? How do we update some of these things? And now I've essentially cloned myself, where I have this platform and I can have my team just dump whatever text inside of this thing to do the videos as me. And so it's great, but as you mentioned, scary as heck, because it's not even a deep fake. It's literally a language model understanding and speaking toward that. And so I think that's where we're running into with a lot of this stuff. It's not just Copilot. There's just so much of AI tools and things of going out there. And I think everyone focusing on AI is kind of looking on in a very tunnel vision way,
narrow band.
Whereas there's so much AI, and I've said it too on many of my other talks, and I actually have one later today, is, you know, there will be a time where AIs are integrating with AIs, similar to how our softwares are integrating with each other. And when that happens, this is going to be a massive network of craziness. And this is just language models right now. This is not even, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what everyone is trying to do. So it's going to be very cool on how that, but yeah, anyway, HeyGen.ai is a tool that I've learned as well on some of those pieces.
And you know, and that's the piece where you got to get real with it, man, is you're ahead of the game and actually able to play with it. But I agree, as quantum computing come out, when you see everybody's doing AI from a lot of what you're saying is already taking place, and it's just happening in the background. When it comes to the foreground, you want to be in front of that, right? You want to be able to have those discussions and do some of those things. But from where it was a year ago to where it is today, it's like night and day. And if you didn't get a chance to play with it a year ago, you think that today is where it begins. It's still getting better. And so, you know, what I tell people is those who don't play with AI today will probably have to go find something else to do. Those who are smart, who use AI, will become smarter. Those who are smart that's using AI will become the geniuses. That's kind of how it's going to progress. And again, with that caveat that it is biased, it does hallucinate, it's creating information from certain things. If you go with those standards, then you get that. Man, sky's the limit for you. It will transform your business and what you do in so many ways, on a personal, professional, all around, right? That's where it's going to be.
And the truth is, we're gonna have to embrace it. It's like you say. I mean, I just think about, you know, when we talk about presentations, think about the Lenovo presentation, and they talked about there's AI now in the computers you're buying, right? So some of the new machines, and this is not a chip. This is separate than being on the CPU, but there's AI built now into the PCs we're buying. So, you know, as professionals in the industry, we're gonna have to embrace it. And like you guys are saying, it's better to be in front of the curve than behind it, or kind of trying to catch up.
This is true. Now, Rick, you know, it's been a while since we've been on, right? And so, you know, what's new going on in your business right now?
Automation, baby.
No, what is specific are you looking to do in the next part of this year then? I said, what is specifically are you doing this next part of the year? How is that looking for you then for automation?
Well, I spent this whole year, the majority of my time has been spent on I don't want to say redefining the company, but on reworking our processes, is really having serious processes about how we're doing things. So it's finally, for the umpteenth time, started documentation, but took documentation serious this time, right? Took processes serious this time. Also, this will lead into where I'm going, but, you know, I took what we were doing more serious. So I redefined who we are, what we offer, and we cannot be everything to everyone, right? So you know, I've made the decision on where we're cutting off, where we can't go, or where right now we're not going. This is not where we specialize in. So we've set some parameters for the company, and that has helped because now I'm more focused, right? For the first time, I'm only focusing on certain industries, which I hadn't done. I know everyone tells you this all the time. You got to niche down, whatever the word is, you know, but because my plate with clients that I have has been a smorgasbord, basically, from just about every industry you could think of, I was like, man, I could just keep going the way I'm going. But again, when I'm trying to basically come up with processes and define who we are, I found that here's where we're good at, right? And here's where we excel. Here's where we have to do work. Here's where we have to do some work on. And here, honestly, is where we suck or we don't need to be. And honestly, a lot of times I think if we're bad at something, it's either two reasons. One, we really don't need to be doing it, or two, we're taking the wrong approach, right? So I look at it as, I had to basically look at that and say, okay, which one of those two choices are there? Are we just bad at it, or is something we don't need to do? And 9 times out of 10, it's a place we don't need to be, right?
Yeah.
So we've learned to just put that aside. Then there's things we're working on, and there's things we're really good at. So to make a short story long here, the process is, is to continue that documentation, that processy, that doing things, getting everyone on the same page and staying there, right? Of course, learning and growing as we go along to adapt as things change, or as we learn, as I have conversations with you guys on and offline, that maybe is another approach I could be taking or something else I can be looking at. But that is that is the journey for this year. And I have to say, it was a lot of work, a lot of late nights, a lot of time, because again, trying to focus on the business from 8 to 6, and then from 6 to 8 a.m., whatever time you can fit in there, I'm trying to do this part of it. And but so at the end of the third quarter, I think we're there. So the fourth quarter is really going to be the testing ground to put a lot of these things in full flesh mode, and prepare for the fourth quarter to get ready for the fourth quarter living, to get ready for the new year. So I'll leave
I hear that. Now, Corey, Rick mentioned IT documentation, right? And I think this is something that a lot of MSPs struggle with. Like, I think it's two reasons. One, they either don't have the time for it,
Yep.
Or they say they don't have the time for it. They don't make time for it. I should say that they don't make the time for it, or B, they just have this over analysis paralysis where they don't know where to start. And I'm sure, for how long you've been in business, you probably have updated your documentation countless times.
Yeah.
A, what platform are you using for your IT documentation? And then B, what are some things that helped you just get started and then kind of just improved over the years?
Yeah, so we're an IT glue shop, and we've been IT glue for a minute, man. So once you start that, like your PSA or RMM, man, it's hard to swap out, right? We have aspiration to do other things, but that's where we hang out. One of the things, man, is we learned long ago, and people respect what you inspect, right? And so what you have to do is you have to incent the right behavior, and that. So our documentation and cases is part of their bonus and their pay structure. You choose not to document, then you're choosing not to be on the bonus structure. Period. That's really that simple,
like that.
right? It's like, hey, here's what I expect for customer sat. Here's what I expect for case notes. Here's what I expect for documentation. If that three-legged stool, any one of those don't run, you automatically exit yourself out of the bonus pool. Period. Right? I don't have time to chase you down, and that's your choice. Cool. Don't when everybody else is getting the checks in that day, and you don't have one, then you probably want to get your documentation in order on the next side, right? It's just that culture piece, and whether and we understand that not everybody's motivated by money, whatever that may be, time off, I mean, whatever it is, but we inspect it, we call each other out, and I tell everybody, I said the way we strive together is if one fail, we all fail. The other piece we look at it is that you have to make sure that the one, and I told this in the session I did with you guys on documentation. I said, look, if you choose not to document, then you're choosing to own it forever. And that means that if you go on vacation and customer having a problem and you didn't document, I'm gonna call you. That means if it's late night and I'm having a problem and you didn't document it, I'm gonna call you. If that means that you're not in here, you own it. So document it. If you don't want to get called and you don't want to be that way, then document it. It's really that simple. After about once, they document. Because I'm gonna hunt you down. I'll come and knock on your door. Hey man, we got a problem. You installed this. Where's the documentation? Oh, you need to come. That's the level of this. And that's that commitment, right? That's that piece we it's kind of like the bad boy, man. We ride and die, right? That we all got to be on that same message and mentality. But we, like I say, you got to respect what you inspect. So don't just throw it out there. Just say, look, we're going to go back out there and we're going to test the documentation, make sure it's good, and don't leave your boys, don't leave your people, out there. You did it, put it together, man. And you ain't got to take that call. We all do the same thing, and we all just get better together. That's the main thing you got to do. Be consistent.
I think we found our title of our episode. Respect what you expect. That's a, and
There's
you know, I
no
think
doubt.
that's no, I agree with that 100%. You know, I think it's a matter of, again, making that time, being able to go through forward and just really trying to dive through and getting it done, because I've been there where I've had phone calls to me, hey, you didn't, write this down, and I just kick myself every single time. It's like, I should have put this down, whatever. And like you just mentioned that now, and I'm like, well, I have to write that down before I take off next Friday, and then nobody sees me for almost a month of October because I ain't picking up
Yeah,
no phone calls or anybody's voicemail. But
no doubt.
as far as for us, like on our side, I think as far as catch up, this year has been a bit rough on just some of our goals that we were trying to do. We hit kind of some stagnation because I kind of got pulled into the support role for the first time in like 4 years. And so what I mean by that, and I've mentioned this on previous podcasts, where we had internal technicians. One got poached. The one wasn't doing what they were supposed to be doing. And then I was left with a decision on the one that we had left. Do I train them? Because they were very 0.5 technician, or as Marvin B would call them, a junior technician, very junior. And so do I train them on the tech and the process of ProdigyTeks, or do I reshift what we're doing? And so that's what I made the decision to outsource this help desk, or outsource our service desk operations. And it took a long 4 months to get it to where I wanted. There were some things here and there, but unfortunately, I just was kind of doing a lot of the support for those 4 months up until this past August or so. I think it was about August, maybe July. So we're about 2 months in with our current service desk offering. It's been amazing, has been great. I said that I would give it about 90 days before I announce who it is that we're working with. But I think I'm fairly confident that this is the route that we're going to be sticking with, because it's just been a matter of just because of what we learned through this whole process. Again, going from internal technicians to an outsourced help desk is a different frame of mind, right?
Hmm.
They say like there's a difference with owning the asset to a collaboration and working with someone that is a true collaborator. And so that means a lot. And it's hard to try and mesh sometimes how certain processes work. And so being able to be open, adopting, and then also for someone who ran the business himself for 7 years, I know where the mines are buried. And so where I have to uncover them to try and break the mold and document them has been a very big difficult. So, I brought back John Dubinsky, who owned the Maven Group. He has really focused on our documentation. All of our documentation is inside of Super Ops. So he helped rebuild a lot of that, working with our outsourced help desk, molding the process and kind of carrying all that together, because I knew I just didn't have the bandwidth, let alone the support process and the bandwidth to try and do it. But we did go with helpdesk.tech. That is the outsourced help desk that we have chosen. We've been with them now for about 60 days. Everything's been rocking and rolling the way that we are looking for. And they just it was a pure mesh that really helped and gain a lot of attraction for that. So we're driving on a lot of that piece now that I've solved that problem for us that has been since April. I can now focus on what I should be doing. And as the CEO, my focus has been the sales and the marketing until I can get those pieces segmented off, and then I could just schmooze and kind of do whatever a CEO does. I don't know what that is, but that's what I'm told. So I've now been able to focus on a lot of that stuff. So I've hired a marketing coordinator. She's now helping us do a lot of the content pieces that we've had before. So we're focusing on our marketing campaigns right now, and this is from aspirations or inspiration from Tahir Ahmed over at MSP Camp. We are a client of theirs. And so the amount of content that they have inside of that platform, and at the level we are, they're just a great resource to help rebranding and creating a lot of those things. So we're setting up all of our stuff to there. We're utilizing Growably as that CRM and as our contract basis as well. So kind of piecing all those together and really rebuilding a true CRM, but also into our marketing efforts, because it's kind of been segmented throughout the years. Rick always he laughs at me because I always complain, like if there's one thing I switch all the time on, is my sales and CRM tools. Like I've been on HubSpot, ActiveCampaign. I was on Growably, Zomentum. I switched back to a lot of those. I was on PandaDoc. And so I have so much segmented stuff out there that I've now started to combine everything into Growably, which is provided by the Tech Tribe. Shout out to the Tech Tribe. And so that has been able to help us mitigate and do a lot of those stuff as well, to the point where MSP Unplugged has used that framework as our own CRM internally, and building out some of those. So we're updating our socials, we're scheduling our blogs, MSP Camp is helping us with a lot of that. My marketing coordinator is re-recording those Tech Tip Tuesdays that we're going to be releasing that was provided to us, and MSP Camp is allowing us, is editing those videos for us to for some of that marketing. So we're all steam ahead right now with our marketing campaign, and really our marketing campaign this quarter is going to be all around Microsoft 365. And so the general point of it is to try and garner as many MS365 clients as possible, so that I can start getting rid of all my Google Workspace clients. Because, and I don't mean to say that meanly or like in a pointed way, but, it speaks a lot about how standardization works to a point where you're not standardized. And so having that one outlier, you start to see where the issues come from, or the complaints or the tickets, or having to make exceptions to the rule. And so when you don't have something into that realm, it causes a lot of interference and things of that nature to a business. So that's our plan, trying to track more of those, and really focusing on that for our fourth quarter living, as we always mention. And then funny enough, it's in the early talks. I don't know how this all going to shape out, but I always get told by my vendor friends and speakers, why am I not doing a podcast or an event for my MSP, even though that I've done this for the last 10 years for the MSP community? And so it was something where I was like, I didn't know how that was going to work. I didn't know how to adhere to, but I will be launching a podcast for the MSP coming out next year. Don't know exactly when it'll launch, but we will have it, and it'll probably be geared toward one of the industries that we serve. So we serve construction, manufacturing, and employment law, specifically in the legal sector. So figuring out that mesh, we're probably going to do seasons, not doing, our weekly podcast that we do like we do here at MSP MSP Unplugged. Although, we'll see how those things change, but that's kind of where we're at right now. And then we'll probably end up doing an event for small business owners for ProdigyTeks as well. So something we're probably going to be doing in 2025. I don't know about the event. That's kind of a big stretch on some of those goals, but the podcast, I think for sure, is probably what's going to launch. We'll lead up to that. And then I'll be sharing some of how that journey is going on how to launch a podcast for an MSP, because I think there's a lot of MSPs that have talked about it. They've been told about it, but they don't really know how to start. And I've had questions like this, but I don't have the experience of how to do it from my MSP point of view. I only know how to talk to you all because, you're all of my people. So that's how I can go ahead and have these conversations and provide that value. So that's kind of what's happening with us over the next quarter. And so, but that's my catch up for this episode here.
Man, y'all making it right out there. I like it. This is awesome.
Yeah, one of the things it's so funny how, I guess it's because Paco and I always talk, and maybe I think he steals my ideas or I steal his ideas, or we just have those synergy conversations all the time about things we want to do. Because one of the, and I know we're going to be short on time, so I'm going to make this quick, but one of the things that doing all this documentation and defining who we are has helped me do is also realize all of the questions and concerns and comments I've gotten from clients over the years, whether they've signed with us, they've not signed with us, they're current, whatever. And so I started blogging and really just really putting down who I want as an ideal client and an ideal relationship. And that's what I'm blogging about. It's not, this is my ideal client, but it's things that I think a customer should be looking for, looking for in an MSP, things an MSP should be looking for from a client. What's important? Why do we back up? Things like that. So I've been, for the last, I guess, month, of my fourth one comes out actually tomorrow, Wednesday. And it's really just me writing down all of these things that I've had in my head. It's like Corey said, I own it. So I'm trying to get it out now. And that has helped. And that is funny enough, Paco, because it leads to the idea of the conversation about saying these things, basically doing it on video as well. And Tyre and I had this conversation as well about just getting it out there that way. It's a great marketing tool.
Yeah.
And if I say this which is funny. I think I suck at this podcasting thing, but there's so many people I meet who say, "Hey," they feel like they know me because they watch or they hear me, right? And it's just funny. The same thing will probably happen with clients if they're paying attention, or new potential clients, if they're listening to your podcast or watching your videos or whatever. When you get in front of them to talk about, I don't want to say pitch, but to present to them what you offer and how you can help them, they have that sense of familiarity, you know what I'm saying, with you. I can't get the word out. Familiarity with you.
Yeah.
And I think so for all of us who are thinking about it, the best answer I can give is just do it. It's not going to go great when you start. Just do it and keep going.
But to add a little bit on that, man, when you start talking about the processes, the documentation that you guys are doing, there's this value that you're adding to the business itself. One, you're creating that sense of when I bring it over and I want to give it to somebody, I'm gonna hand it over where it's gonna be documented and where it needs to go. It's like trying to go to IKEA and build one of their shelves with no documentation. You'll never get it built. But now you go to IKEA, get the shelf with all the rich documentation. That's that value that you're building into an MSP that makes, whether you want to sell it or keep it moving or whatever it is, that all comes down the pipe with it, right? So that's that value. But the other thing about it is it creates consistency, and it creates that sense of, hey, these guys know what it's all about over there, and you become experts in that situation, right? That's what's cool about it. Taking that shotgun approach that we do when we first get started, because what we do, everybody needs. But Rick, what I heard is that I'm going to step back and take a sniper approach, right? And I'm going to pinpoint my target. And I'm going to pick them off one at a time, right? That's it. That's exactly what you're doing. But what you did was now your staff say, man, we ain't got to worry about, are we doing construction and grocery stores or hotels or whatever it is. We are experts in what we're doing right now. And that's what you're selling. That's your marketing pitch, right? We are truly the leaders in that situation because we do it. And I got 5, 10, 15, 20 clients. I know how I have cornered that market and I'm going after it, man. So I love it, man. That's exactly how we did it. So I continue to do it. And I think that's the way it should be. 100%.
That's awesome. So I know we ran a little bit long on this episode here, fellas, but I want to round out our final thoughts here. So, I'll toss it over to you, Corey. Is there any lasting words, anything we haven't talked about that you just want to leave with the audience before we end off the show?
Yeah, I think, if you take one thing away from here, man, is that in this community and when you got partners and friends and when you're going out to shows, closed mouth don't get fed, right? You got to open your mouth, talk and have some conversation, because what you figure out is we're all willing to help. We're going to share our information. We're going to put it out there. And then you take that back and you do what you do. But there's really no reason for you not to succeed or sit back on a situation and be scared of it, man. Please ask us questions. Reach out to us. If we don't know the answer, we know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows the answer. So, man, please reach out. Love on the community, man, because it'll love on you back. No doubt about it.
Absolutely. Rick, any lasting words for the fine folks listening in?
Well, I'm just going to piggyback on what Corey said. It's just, again, I always say this, and I probably sound like a broken record, and I'll continue to say it till the day I sell this business or retire, or however you want to say it, though. It's the community and the help and the support you get inside of it that really helps you. Like, so for me personally, this is where I grew up and how my business has grown and how I can see where the next steps are. Right. So I encourage everyone to continue to participate, to share your knowledge. And also, like, as Corey said, ask those questions that could help you, because you never know. And a lot of times people, and I say this to people I talk to all the time, they'll come to me and say, hey, this, I don't know. There's so much I can learn from you. Just when you, even if we're in different levels, it doesn't matter. Is what I can learn from you, just like you can learn from me. And that's what the whole thing is. So that's my parting gift is, don't only ask, but share your knowledge as well, because that goes a long way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just goes to the saying that everyone has a story. Everyone has something that someone will get out of. And I think we have plenty of people who say, I'm not ready for coming on as a guest, or I'm not ready for talking about X, or no, there's so many other people that probably have done it better than me. I can guarantee you that your journey to where you are now has some lessons that are more than valuable to those that are listening in. And for the most part, we've always recorded when we record our episodes for a new guest, if they're not comfortable with it, we wouldn't release it. And we have not had that to date of the past 10 years. So we implore you, if you have a story to share, if you want to join us here, it's not just us three talking heads, just talking about whatever. We'd love to hear your perspective. So if you want to come on the show, definitely go to info@mspunplugged.com, or just poke Rick on all his social medias. He's a fan of social media, so go ahead and poke him on there. But no, once again, I think it's going to be a great start to a lot of the great things that we're going to be talking about. Again, next couple weeks, we'll probably have some back and forth in on recording our episodes. This episode will come out in the week of October. I guess it would be the week of October technically, right? Because the 30th is a Sunday. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yes, so this episode will come out on the week of the 30th / October, first week of October. I will be gone for about 2 weeks because I am getting married October 4th. So you will not hear from me. But we will try and get these two to come on and talk about all kinds of topics. I know Rick is going to be enjoying some nice island weather this coming up Friday that's coming. So that'll be fun for them. And then I'll be gone for another couple weeks in October. So we will say that there may be some slight interruptions in our regularly broadcast schedule, but we will make sure to continue to keep releasing these to provide you that regular value. So again, if you love what you're hearing, tune in every week. You can watch the video podcast on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you can be notified whenever a new episode is released. We're also on every favorite podcatcher. I don't know about every, but we're probably on your favorite podcatcher. We can always, but most importantly, you can take us with you on the go. We're on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, to name a few. Just look up MSP Unplugged, and you should be able to see us there. We normally have an insert. Don't forget about Techcon Unplugged. We'll have some more news coming up here in the next month or two on where we will be. And most importantly, thank you for those who attended. Thank you for all your support. And thank you for listening. And we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.